A special presentation from the KTVB Newsroom. Bronco Roundup Game Day starts now.
Welcome live to Autzen Stadium here in Eugene, Oregon, where Bronco Nation has traveled well to support their beloved Boise State football team. Tonight, Boise State will look for one of the biggest upsets in program history, but heck, we have seen a blue and orange shade of David slaying Goliath before. Tonight we see if the slipper fits once again and Cinderella can pull off a big-time upset. You can see the Broncos have taken the field here for early warm-ups at Autzen Stadium, and we are expecting a big-time matchup between Boise State and 7th-ranked Oregon tonight. Welcome to the Bronco Roundup Game Day Show. I'm Tust. Brady Frederick will be alongside me shortly. The Boise State football team is going to try to do the unthinkable. 20-point underdogs tonight, but they're going to try to pull off the biggest upset in school history, at least one of the biggest. It has been nearly 2 decades since Boise State was an underdog by nearly 3 touchdowns. Now, the Broncos got off to a great start last week in Statesboro, winning their season opener for the first time since 2020. Boise State allowed 45 points in that contest, their most in a win since 2017. Thanks to scoring 56 points, though, their most in a game since 2019. Both Boise State and Oregon are 1-0 on the young season, but they've accomplished that feat in very different ways. The Broncos put up an impressive offense performance last week. Their 651 yards were the 6th most in a college football game this season. On the flip side of that, they also gave up way too much on defense. Meanwhile, the Ducks only scored 24 points last weekend against the Idaho Vandals. It was their defense that ended up bailing them out, limiting Idaho to just 14 points and 217 total yards of offense. Now, as a result of those struggles, Oregon dropped to from number 3 to number 7 in the most recent Associated Press top 25. Still, the Broncos, as I just mentioned, are 20-point underdogs today. That type of spread we have not seen since 2001 when Boise State traveled out to South Carolina. That means if the blue and orange want to pull off an upset today, it would give them their highest-ranked true road victory in program history.
This game is one of those games, guys. I mean, our guys have been hearing about playing Oregon since last season ended, right? So immediately after the bowl game, it was Oregon 2024. And that's college football. That's why you come to Boise State, to have an opportunity to play these games, to play a top 5 opponent on the road. And so my message to our team is all about how we grow from week 1 to week 2. We know the opponent that we're playing. They're going to be one of the most talented teams we faced here in a while. They're going to be extremely well coached. I think the world of Dan Lanning, his staff from Will Stein, Tosh Lupo, I mean, they do a phenomenal job. Our team's going to know and understand it. Now, how do we grow from week 1 to week 2? We understand that's going to be a tall task. We have to earn the right to be successful on Saturday with how we prep today, tomorrow, how we practice this week, so that when we go out on Saturday, when the nation's watching, I believe, like I talked about, are we willing to work in the dark so when the lights are on Saturday, we're ready?
Bronco Roundup Game Day. Fast Stats. Sponsored by TDS.
These two teams have a history, and that history is actually pretty one-sided. Boise State is 3-0 all time against the Ducks, winning once in Eugene, once in Boise, and once on a neutral field. There's literally no other way to beat a team besides those 3 ways. Back in 2007, Kellen Moore threw for 386 yards in his first ever road start, which resulted in a 37-32 victory. 2 years later, the blunt punch hit on the blue. It was the most life the Oregon offense showed that evening, as they only managed to gain 152 total yards of offense. And finally, in 2017, the Broncos took down the Ducks in the Las Vegas Bowl. Linebacker Leighton Vander Esch went off in that contest, finishing with 12 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, a sack, and a forced fumble as he solidified himself as a first-round NFL draft pick. Welcome live, again, inside Eugene, inside Autzen Stadium in Eugene, where the countdown to kickoff continues. And for the first time this evening, we welcome in Brady Frederick back in the studio. And the thing I like about Brady is how dedicated he is to his job. So a little over a year ago, he actually traveled out here to Autzen Stadium, had a scouting report on the noise. What was your takeaway from that experience, Brady?
You know, I got to tell you, Jay, I've heard so much about Autzen Stadium and how loud it is. I didn't really feel that way. Maybe the Oregon Ducks didn't want to beat Washington State as bad as they want to beat Boise State tonight. Maybe they're going to be a little bit louder, but I don't know. I know it's early. I'm seeing a lot of blue in the crowd. Hey, one more note on the 20-point underdog situation. I think it's a little too high for the Ducks, but that being said, today has been a day of upsets throughout the college football world. Iowa State with a 1-point win over their rival 19th ranked Iowa. Northern Illinois taking down number 5 Notre Dame. That's crazy. And then, of course, the Idaho Vandals coming in clutch, taking down Wyoming. 2-0 against Mountain West teams in the Jason Eck era. Let's go back to this game because all the focus last week was on Ashton Jeanty. Could he have a Heisman moment tonight? You could argue he already did last season. To open up the season, the junior running back ran for a school record 6 touchdowns and rushed for a school record 267 yards. Through all the great running backs we've seen at BSU, that mark has stood since 1978, originally set by Cedric Minter. Here in Boise, and as you can see on screen in Eugene, the hype train for Ashton Jeanty has been on full speed for months now, but the secret is finally out. The rest of the college football world is taking note of what kind of threat he can be, and that list includes Oregon head coach Dan Lanning.
Yeah, I think this is the best running back I've seen since I've been here. He's certainly an NFL guy, and he doesn't go down on first contact ever. He's one of the best stiff arm guys that we've gone against. He runs really, really physical. And then, the next guy they brought in ran for 100 yards too. So they hold you accountable. They make you tackle. They're going to make, DBs tackle. They do a really good job of that. And the back certainly, is a big piece of their success.
Now, Oregon, of course, has their own Heisman candidate. It's a familiar face. Dillon Gabriel playing his second game leading the Ducks. The second time he's going to face off with Boise State as well. He's had a long career with a number of stops. Last season, he played for Oklahoma. Before that, he was at UCF, where he guided the Knights to a narrow 36-31 win over the Broncos, providing 4 passing touchdowns, 318 yards, and 64 yards on the ground. But since then, as the coaching staff will tell you, he's only gotten better.
I mean, he is in the Heisman votes for a reason because he's an extremely efficient passer, and he is an explosive runner as well. He can get open to throw, or he can get open and take off like he did against us a couple years ago and make plays with his feet. He's a big-time leader. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the entire nation, and he's deserved that. He's grown every single year. He makes great decisions. He knows where to go with the ball, very elusive in the pocket.
But it's like you're playing an NFL quarterback. Like, he's been around a lot of football, and he's been with some different teams and been in different systems, and it's just like playing one of those experienced guys. And shoot, I recruited Dillon Gabriel in high school. I remember him when he was running around as a young guy, and he's a fantastic young man, and he's a really good football player.
Now, Jay, I know fans have had this game circled for a long time. Spencer Danielson said this is why you come to Boise State, and it seems like everything has aligned. 2 premier offensive players facing off against each other, Ashton Jeanty and Dillon Gabriel, looking to light it up today. It's going to be a fun one as we get closer to kickoff.
Yeah, and by the way, Brady, I thought we escaped the heat, but not really. Temperatures in the upper 80s right now. Boise State plays well, apparently, in the heat, though. They picked up a victory last week to improve to, 12-3 all-time when the temperature is above 90 at kickoff. Not quite that hot this evening, but I will say a little hotter than I anticipated. But
can't be hotter
either
than
way,
Georgia.
this is a big-time matchup. Kind of a program defined. Yeah, it's not hotter than Georgia, and at least there's not any humidity, so I will take that. But this matchup, Brady, last week I would say that Ashton Jeanty kind of announced himself to the college football world, and the fact he's a legitimate Heisman campaign. Brady, if they come to Autzen and get a win today, not only is Ash going to have a big game, but Boise State's going to reintroduce themselves to the college football world as a legitimate player and maybe front runner for that college football playoff spot out of the group of 5 conferences. So a lot at stake here for the Broncos tonight, Brady.
Yeah, and I don't consider this one to be a must-win game to get into the college football playoff, but if you lose to Oregon, you can only lose one more and you're out the rest of the way. If you beat Oregon, this is a prestige, resume-boosting win, and you have the rest of the season in your hands the rest of the way. Any other undefeated G5 team is not going to compete with an undefeated Boise State Mountain West champion who took down Oregon in week 2.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And this is one of those games where if Boise State pulls the upset and is able to get a victory tonight, I mean, that's going to help them even come the end of this whole process where they're weighing Boise State's win against a Big Ten school. I mean, that would be massive in terms of even how high they could climb in the rankings potentially. I mean, first things first, they have to beat a really, really talented Oregon team. But, man, 4 hours from now, this season could look a whole lot different with a whole lot more optimism in terms of Boise State's chances of making it to the college football playoff. So an exciting game. Can't wait for this one to kick off, and we are only 52 minutes away from kickoff. Brady, more with you in just a second. In the meantime, we'll give you a little look at the stadium back in Boise because the 2024 Banner Boys are officially up outside of Autzen Stadium. 6 players are on the stadium, on the side of the stadium on 3 different banners, right next to one that also claims bragging rights about the blue. Junior linebacker Andrew Simpson is featured with senior defensive end Ahmed Hassanin. Those two combined for 30 tackles for loss last season. Right next to them, you'll find the specialist, senior kicker Jonah Dalmas, as well as punter James Ferguson Reynolds. And finally, on the offensive banner, you have junior running back Ashton Genty sharing the spotlight with sophomore left tackle Cage Casey. Speaking of which, today will serve as a bit of a homecoming for Cage. Both in-state FBS programs once overlooked the pride of Clackamas, which is only about 90 minutes from Eugene and even closer to Corvallis for that matter. After redshirting for the Broncos in 2022, Casey stepped into a starting role last year and immediately became one of the best players in the entire conference. Earlier this week, I caught up with his position coach, Tim King, who emphasized that Cage is good and all he has to do is play within himself to have success tonight.
Anytime a guy can go back to his home state and, our guys have this little chip on their shoulder, this underdog, hey, these guys didn't recruit me and they didn't give me any letters and I didn't get any cool graphics or anything like that. That's what, again, has made this place special is just those guys they got that little chip on their shoulder and that's okay, and they have that underdog mentality. So, I haven't blown it out of proportion too much, with him just because I know it means a lot to him and his family, they're all out there in Oregon. So it's going to be more for him, calming him down and making sure he's not too juiced and just kind of staying in the moment and staying to what he can do. His best is good enough. He doesn't do anything else besides his best and he'll be fine.
Couldn't agree more with Coach Keene. Cage Casey is playing with confidence right now, and confidence is a dangerous thing for a young player who is no doubt an NFL prospect. Speaking of NFL prospects, there is the best punter in the country. He led the nation in punt average last year. James Ferguson Reynolds could be a big factor today, trying to pin the Ducks deep and help out Boise State's defense. Only had 1 punt last week. That's how good Boise State was on offense. I would expect him to be a little busier tonight. Getting back to Cage Casey, we're going to have more on the offensive line's stellar Week 1 performance coming up in just a few minutes. Brady Frederick is going to break that down. In the meantime, though, I told you about Cage, and he grew up, again, in Clackamas, which isn't far from here, so he certainly has a chip on his shoulder as the in-state programs overlooked him. We still have more to come on this edition of Bronco Roundup Game Day. Did you know the Ducks have won 40 of their last 43 games here in Autzen Stadium? Yes, a win won't be easy tonight. But Boise State, they had to dodge the smoke earlier this week to practice. They won't be dodging it tonight, though, as they've been preparing for the Autzen bounce.
Our guys, we work through everything to make sure they can respond. And no different for us, me driving in this morning, looking out and being like, oh, we're definitely going to be inside today. It smells like I'm having a campfire right by my house. This is what it is. And these guys have been talked to about this game for 8 months. This is an awesome opportunity for our players to play in a huge game against a Big Ten opponent. The big part for me is when we're in practice, let's make sure that stress is high. That's why we have the crowd noise high at practice. I want to be very urgent in everything we do at practice so that you get used to living in that stressful world. That's just how you live. That's how you operate. So that when you get into a game where the stakes are through the roof, it's nothing new to you. This is why you come to Boise State, to give yourself an opportunity to play in these games.
Welcome to Autzen Stadium, home of the Oregon football team. This is the largest sports venue in the state of Oregon. It's also one of the loudest stadiums in the entire country and a beloved landmark within this community. Autzen Stadium is known for its crowd noise. The field is sunken down, which allows fans to get right on top of the action. In 2002, they went through a $90 million renovation. The latest addition to the west side really traps in the noise. They call it the Autzen bounce, where all the noise echoes right back down onto the field. During that same renovation in 2002, they just made Oregon Duck football much more comfortable to watch. They added 12,000 seats, 32 luxury boxes, they updated bathrooms and expanded the concourse. They say that listed capacity is right around 54,000, but on 2 different occasions, they've housed over 60,000. And another fun fact for you, in 1969, Autzen Stadium became the first stadium on the West Coast to install artificial turf. Autzen Stadium is located just north of the Willamette River. Students often walk from campus to the games using the Autzen footbridge to cross the Willamette River. When they arrive, the most spirited bunch of Oregon fans usually sit in a place called the O-Zone, and that's where they see this guy, the Oregon Duck, the only Disney licensed mascot in all of college football.
Bronco Nation is not just in Boise. I mean, yeah, the heart of it is in Boise, but it's all over. I mean, the thousands of alumni across the nation, the globe, all coming together for places like at Eugene to support our university and also the football team.
I know many people left this morning very early this morning, so we're going to be louder and prouder as ever. And once again, Bronco Nation is stepping up and taking care of business. And it's going to be loud in Autzen tomorrow, but Boise State will definitely have some noise in there.
This is my first time in Eugene, so to see the city and the greenery, but to also see the amount of Broncos that also showed up here today and are going to show up to tomorrow. I mean, it's amazing to see.
We are all over the country. Bronco Nation represents from the West Coast to the East Coast, north, south.
I really like Genty, and like you can juke, you just stiff arms guys to the ground.
We're 3-0 lifetime and looking to be 4-0 against the Ducks, and I love our chances.
Boise State! I tell you, there is more than just a touch of blue and orange here at Autzen Stadium tonight. Approximately 4,000 to 5,000 members of Bronco Nation have made their way to Eugene. And some breaking news into the program. I regret to inform you that Mason Randolph, the starting center of this football team, is out tonight and potentially for the long haul this season. We'll look to confirm those details later on, but you are looking at Zach Holmes. He will start in place of the talented Mason Randolph tonight. This is a major blow for Boise State's offensive line. Randolph, honestly, if you talk with NFL scouts, is one of the most talented players on the entire football roster. So Zach has some big shoes to fill tonight, but he will make his first collegiate start. He did get a taste of the action last week in Statesboro. Mason was injured on the 63rd play of the game. Boise State's offense was only on the field for 7 additional plays after that happened. So it happened late in last week's game, an unfortunate injury, and now Mason Randolph will be out for the foreseeable future with, at least tonight, the young Zach Holmes filling in for him at center. Of course, you have Maddox Matson behind him. He will be making his 3rd collegiate start. Got off to a decent start last week in Statesboro, 21 of 33 for 280 yards, a touchdown and an interception. Maddox's 280 yards career high and the most by a Bronco in a game since the middle of the 2022 season when Taylon Green threw for 305 yards against Colorado State in October of that year. Maddox completed 70% of his passes on 31 attempts. He's one of 3 players in college football to go on the road in a true road game, complete 70% of his passes on at least 30 attempts this season. A whole new challenge tonight, though, taking on the 7th-ranked Oregon Ducks. They got off to a great start on defense last week, only allowing 217 yards to Idaho. We'll see if number 4 has some magic in that right arm this evening. Okay, before we completely turn the page to Oregon, here are some of the best sights and sounds from Boise State's first season opening victory since 2020. It happened last weekend on the other side of the country.
Bronco Roundup Rewind. Sponsored by your local Toyota dealers.
We haven't won game one here in a while, and especially on the road, we haven't won in a while. Everything we do is earn the right to win game one. We have to do that. So much for me is, are we ready and are we playing fast? Those are the two things that I hit our staff on. I want to make sure game one, when we watch our team, we know our team is ready and they are playing fast. There's been a lot of hype in the offseason about our team. There's a lot of guys that deserve that. Now we got to go put on film. And with hype, it only puts a bigger target on your back. And at Boise State, you embrace that.
Good afternoon and welcome to the surface of the sun. I'm Jay Tust coming at you live from Statesboro, Georgia, where the Boise State football team is less than an hour from kicking off the 2024 season against Georgia Southern.
I mean, yeah, there was a little bit of trash talking going on early as we came out, but, you know, that just motivates us even more to go out there and play hard.
The run goes to the left side. Genty shoots through, breaks tackles to the 40, to the 50, to the 40, to the 30, to the 20, to the 10. He's into the end zone. Ashton Genty with a 77-yard run. Quick throw to the left side. This time Sanders with the catch and fumbles the football. Alexander Tubner recovers at midfield. 2nd and 10 from the 26-yard line. 3 minutes to go in the first quarter. Handoff Genty right side, clean hole, busts off tackles, cuts back in the middle to the 20, to the 10. Ashton Genty for his second touchdown of the game. 13-0. French in an empty set. 4 rush. French in the pocket, quick throw left side, and what a play at the last minute. It was Zion Washington knocking the ball away. He struck like a cobra out there, making the big deflection right at the last minute, and it'll be 4th down, 2nd down and 1. The ball at the 5 of Georgia Southern. And Genty has his 4th touchdown for the first time in his career. Georgia Southern did not dig in from there. And it's a 5-yard run for Genty, and the ante has been up to 27-9. Broncos trail by 2 with the football, trying to keep this drive alive. Randolph over the ball at center. Madsen in the backfield with Genty off his right shoulder. And it is Madsen who will throw it. Madsen dumps it down, making the catch for the first down. That's going to be Ben Ford, I believe. It's 3rd and goal at the 1. Handoff Genty up the middle into the end zone for a school record tying 5th touchdown. Ashton Genty surges the Broncos in front again. Madsen gets the snap. Pass back of the end zone. Caught. Camper with the catch, and Boise State gets the 2-point conversion. Georgia Southern blitzing, handoff Genty. Genty breaks into the clear to the 30, to the 40, goes to the left side. He's being chased by Hill to the 30, to the 20, to the 10, 5. It is plenty for Genty as he scores another touchdown. The school record 6 touchdowns, 42-37 Boise State.
Ashton Genty is the best player in the country. And that's who Ashton Genty is, and I'll scream that from the rooftops.
It's 3rd and 10 from the Bronco 43. Boise State up by 5. French has the ball knocked out of his hands, and it's going to be knocked out of bounds. They're going to lose 2 or 3 on the play. The Broncos get a huge 3rd down stop, 2nd down and 2. Taking a 2-score lead would be huge. Handoff Gaines running it to the left side, into the clear, to the 30, to the 25, to the 20, to the 10, smells the end zone and scores. And Boise State now has opened it up.
Good teams find ways to win.
Come on, a win is a win. A win is a win. It's a blessing.
Proud of our whole team finding a way to win.
1-0.
We knew coming in this was going to be a great home field advantage for Georgia Southern. Elements, all that. Our team found a way to win. And we haven't been 1-0 in a few years. Feels good to be 1-0. We're going to celebrate the win.
1-0. 1-0. Oregon's next.
Tomorrow we're going to flip the switch and move on to Oregon.
1-0. 1-0.
1-0 on the season, looking to improve to 2-0 tonight. You can see the Broncos taking the field for warm-ups here at Autzen Stadium. The big fellas running out of the tunnel. You see Malachi Nelson in front of your screen. There's Latrell Caples and the rest of the Broncos getting set to score one of the biggest victories in program history. Tonight, Markel Reed will carry out the hammer for the Boise State football team. Last week he had a big hit on special teams. The sixth-year senior lost his starting role this offseason, but still playing a major role for this team. Love his selfless approach, doing whatever it takes to help the Broncos on Saturday. The flag wavers for today, meaning the guys that will lead the team out of the tunnel with the flags. Left tackle Cage Casey is one of them, along with safety Ty Benefield. Cage Casey played all 70 snaps on offense last week, while Ty Benefield played all 91 snaps on defense against Georgia Southern. Both of those guys are absolute warriors, and they will be looked at as leaders today. Latrell Caples had a phenomenal season opener last week, 5 catches, 81 yards, did his thing in the ground game. And that's where I'll take this one to right now as we welcome in Brady Frederick back in the studio. Really impressed by some of the receivers last week, Brady. 2 guys that Boise State didn't have at their disposal on offense last year. Latrell Caples out for the year with an Achilles injury. Cam Camper was playing at another school. Both made an immediate impact on offense against Georgia Southern, Brady.
Yeah, and it's special because it's, you know, it really shows that blue collar, do the dirty work aspect of playing for Boise State. When you become a wide receiver, when you train, you're not doing it because you like pass blocking or run blocking, but those guys were up to the challenge and they weren't just enthusiastic. They did a great job getting things going and really opened up the pass game. Another guy I know we mentioned a little bit, Maddox Madsen, had a tremendous game in just his second game as a starter at Boise State, his first full game as the starting quarterback at Boise State. You know, I really got to commend you for being such a hard worker. I know you have been grinding to get this show together, get ready for the game tonight. You still had a little bit of time to fight with some dudes on Twitter who were talking smack and don't understand that an interception on a 2-point conversion attempt is not quite an interception. Statistically, that's not how it works.
Hey, you know me, Brady. I don't really like to mix it up on X or Twitter or whatever it's called too much. I was kind of exhausted after that one. I still feel I was very right, though, so whatever. I don't even give a care. Hey, as long as we're talking about some of these guys, the hype circle will take you inside the hype circle. You're only going to get this view right here on the official station for Bronco Nation.
Oh, they almost ran him down.
A couple of key players I want to point out for tonight's game. Be careful out there, buddy. Hey, a couple of key players that I want to point out for tonight. I feel like Alexander Tuber is going to play a big-time part in this game. Dylan Gabriel, as you pointed out earlier, Brady, is lethal with his arm, but he can also burn you with his feet. Boise State played a ton of dime last week, meaning they took one extra linebacker off the field and put an extra DB on the field. That means that Alexander's kind of playing a hybrid linebacker role. So in order to contain Dylan Gabriel and prevent him from running, Alexander Tuber is going to have to really do a good job with his eyes and patience in containing Dylan Gabriel tonight. On the offensive side, I feel like we have been hyping up Matt Lauder, who plays like Matt Miller. We've been hyping up Matt Lauder for a little while now, Brady. I just got a hunch tonight he is going to have his breakout performance against the Ducks in Eugene. Only a couple of catches last week. I believe that Lauder's going to have a big performance tonight, though, Brady.
I agree with you 100% on both takes. I like the idea of Alex Tuber getting a little bit of work up near the box. I think his coverage has gotten better and better every year, but when he arrived at Boise State, he was really tremendous as a hard hitter, a disruptor. I like to have him have an emphasis in that role today, and like you said, they really need to. On the Matt Lauder, Matt Miller is great as well, but Matt Lauder, had a great, quiet game blocking. I know all the hype that we saw towards the end of the year for him, he finally got some good touchdown receptions going, and he got things working. Was one of the guys who continued to stand out through spring and fall camp. I think we're finally going to get a shot to see him, have more work in the pass catching aspect of his role and be a little bit more well-rounded. But I'm excited to see it. All around, the blocking effort was superb, Jay.
Yeah, I agree with you. So again, Alexander Tubner going to have to really play a big role on defense. We're going to have more with the Pride of Seaside in just a minute. But again, Matt Lauder, a potential breakout performance tonight here in Eugene. Now, we are going to take you back down live to the field. We're going to be rejoined by Brady Frederick in just a minute here. But when you look at the Broncos warming up behind me, man, last week was an interesting one. They built so much confidence with what they were able to do on offense. But man, would we love to see them perform a little bit better on the defensive side of the ball, especially on third downs. They really struggled on that down and distance last week. So we'll see if they can figure that out. If they do, I feel like they figure out a ton of their problems. Live on the field again, about as close to the action as you can possibly get. We are right here with the Broncos warming up on the sideline. And we will have more live from Autzen Stadium coming up on Bronco Roundup Game Day.
I got to shout out my O-line. They opened up big, wide holes, all game. And, you know what I'm saying? I got the easy part, make some guys miss and, go run to the end zone.
All right, as humble as he is, Ashton Jeanty, I don't think anyone can call what he does the easy part. However, he is right to give props to the offensive line because everything he does, they at least get it started for him. And against Georgia Southern, that unit got out to its best start in years. Tonight, of course, they face a massive challenge against the team that might boast the best defensive line that they face all season. That group is the focus in this week's Roadmap to Victory.
Bronco Roundup's Roadmap to Victory is sponsored by your Treasure Valley Ford stores.
It felt so good. We've been preparing all year long. To actually get on the field after all these months of training and working together and growing these relationships, it felt so good to dominate their D-line.
It all starts up front. In a day that saw 651 total yards of offense and 7 total touchdowns, the offensive line set the Broncos up for success. The number that stands out, Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty averaged 5.1 yards before anyone on the defense was able to even make contact with him.
I don't really even see the holes while I'm blocking. I just see the tailbacks running past. Just being able to have the first contact at 5.5 yards or 5.1 yards was insane.
And hidden behind a dominant run game was a clean pocket for the passing game, allowing 0 sacks.
Their work that they put in is unheard of in ways. Those guys get after it continuously each and every day. Those guys take it into their own hands, that it really comes down to them making the plays, and their execution was awesome. It showed. They had a really good day together.
The hot start, a much-needed change of pace for a unit that typically has taken a few weeks to get rolling.
And that's been extremely frustrating for everyone involved, for the players, for the coaches, for Bronco Nation. So it was good just to get a win, however it got done, whether we threw the ball for 1,000 yards, or we rushed the ball for 1,000 yards, or we scored 10 points or 100 points. We just wanted, as a team, to get on the plane after and be like, hey, all that work, all those decks, all that conditioning in the snow, it's worth it.
But in Game 2, they faced what might be their biggest challenge of the season.
We climbed the mountain and we were at the top, and what did we see? We saw our next challenge, and we got a big challenge this next week, and you can't enjoy the view too much from the mountaintop because that next challenge is coming quick in college football. There's no time to be feeling awesome and patting each other on the back. We got to be on this next opponent.
Getting back to work this week, I think we had one of our best Tuesday practices we've ever had, and just the level of play that we are at right now, early on in the week, our bodies are still banged up, we're still getting back at it. It's insane.
The Oregon Ducks have one of the best defensive lines money can buy. headlined by NFL prospect Jordan Birch.
They are really good defensive ends. One thing we're emphasizing is number one's ability to bull rush. He's really big, heavy, 295 and 6'6". He's going to be a component that we got to emphasize during the week, and our scout players this week have already emphasized it really well and given us good power rushes.
While we shouldn't expect the gaudy stat lines we saw out of the rushing game in week 1, the unit is ready to bring the juice and grind out whatever they can to help the Broncos win.
It's gonna be a really fun week because we're gonna have to be super juiced with a 4-yard run. We're not gonna get a lot of 10 and 15 and 20-yard runs. Like, they do a really good job of kind of eliminating all that space. So it'll be fun for our guys to see those guys respond and get excited when we get a 5-yard run and a 4-yard run and an efficient run and just keep the chains moving. Like, that's gonna be our goal for this week.
And Jay, of course, the Mason Randolph injury news does kind of take the wind out of our sails and all the excitement we had for the offensive line. But it is important to note, they've told us since even before we heard this injury news, they were very excited about the depth they have on the offensive line. The guys playing, 6th through 8th in the rotation, ready to plug and play, have those guys come in whenever their opportunities are presented to them.
Yeah, we're going to take you back down live to the field at Autzen Stadium. You can see Spencer Danielson chewing his gum. Always has a piece of gum in his mouth. Looking to improve to 5-1 as the leader of the Boise State football team. As you remember, went 3-1 last year with the Mountain West Conference Championship. Picked up a season opening victory this year and trying to get one of the biggest victories in program history tonight here at Eugene. The only breaking news in terms of the depth chart that we have for you so far is that Mason Randolph is out of action tonight, and Zach Holmes will replace him. You can see now the number 1 and number 2 offense leaving the field. They're going to head back inside to the locker rooms. The next time we see them, it will be time for kickoff here at Autzen Stadium. Number 4 right in front of you, right there, lower part of your screen. Maddox Madsen greeting some of the boys as they walk off the field. Special, beautiful night here at Autzen Stadium. My goodness, looking forward to a great college football game this evening between Boise State and 7th-ranked Oregon. This is an exciting game for one person in particular. Yesterday when the Boise State football team arrived, we had the chance to see Alexander Tubner get off the bus, but I also want to show you Ashton Genty right in front of you right there. What a performance by him last week. 267 yards rushing, a school record, 271 yards from scrimmage, the second most in college football on the opening week of the season. Man, what a big opportunity for him to continue to build his Heisman campaign. Loves playing on the road, by the way, feeds off of the road crowd, believe it or not. Loves it when they trash talk him, says it only fires him up even more. Number 2 could potentially be the front runner for the Heisman with a big performance tonight. So as the Broncos leave the field, I want to shift the focus back to senior safety Alexander Tubner. The Oregonian grew up in a small coastal town not far from here. Seaside, Oregon is about 140 miles away from Eugene. He watched a number of games growing up at Autzen Stadium. He's gone from walk-on to being named the team captain, and Tubes says that his strength comes from Seaside.
Turn left or right and proceed to the nearest.
Seaside, population about 6,000, might be a little bit bigger than that, but they're a community that they love their own. They're going to look out for their own. Every person that I still talk to on a somewhat regular basis has told me they're going to the game. So, I mean, I can imagine there'd be over 100, if not more, people from Seaside, maybe a couple hundred. It's going to be pretty special, and I know a lot of the boys that are coming to town are pretty rowdy, and they're going to be very loud, energetic, and get the opportunity to make some big plays. I'm sure you can hear, but however big the section is, I'm sure they'll be louder than their size should be. Aside from maybe the Mountain West Championships, for me personally, it's going to be probably the most special game.
He's the heartbeat of this team, heartbeat of the program. I mean, he's the leader, but really, I mean, at the end of the day, he's just a great example of what it means to be a Bronco. Coming in here as a walk-on, earned every single thing. Never said, oh, I want to do this. He just showed it with his work. I mean, he's blue collar. I mean, he's one of the first ones in every day. He's one of the last ones to leave. The way he practices is the way he plays. I really just think it's a mentality that he pushes himself until his tank is empty, and he does it every day. I got to do whatever it takes for us to come out and get a W and make all those people proud.
The Oregon Athletic Department and Order of the
Alexander Tubner is the heart of the defense, as you heard Tyler Stockton say right there. He is going to have to play a really good game tonight in order for Boise State to contain and try to limit Dylan Gabriel, the Heisman-worthy quarterback for the Oregon Ducks. And Brady, I'm going to send it back to the studio for this final time. We're going to go get set up for the game, but before I officially sign off, keys to the game for me. Again, it goes back to Alexander Tubner. Matt Lauter has to make a couple of big plays. Oregon is going to be focused on shutting down Ashton Genty. So when those linebackers are creeping towards the line of scrimmage, look for the Broncos to sneak something in over them to Matt Lauter. And finally, they've got to do better on third down. If they get better on third down, a number of their defensive problems will go away. Excited for this one, Brady. Can't wait to get back tomorrow and break all of it down on Sunday Sports Extra.
All right, thank you so much, Jay. Have fun out there. We're looking forward to seeing how this one wraps up. One final key to the game, I'll throw mine in there. You got to manage the noise. I know I said Autzen might be a little overrated when it comes to stadium sounds. I have never been on the field, so it might be a little bit different, but Boise State has been ready for it. And when I say manage the noise, I'm not worried that they're going to be rattled. This is why you come to Boise State, to get these opportunities to play in these kind of games. I'm more worried about a communication aspect of it. You got to be locked in, you got to be paying attention, and you got to find ways to communicate within the offensive line, within the defensive secondary. It's something that they put a lot of practice in this week, pumping the noise out through the stadium. All right, that's going to do it for Bronco Roundup Game Day today. Thank you so much for joining us. We want to remind you, we will have a live stream of the post-game press conferences. You'll hear from Spencer Danielson, plus a pair of Bronco student athletes. Hopefully, they are celebrating a big-time win. This game kicks off at 8 o'clock. You can stream it on Peacock. We're going to have plenty tomorrow night on Sunday Sports Extra. But for now, from Jay Tust, Brady Frederick, and all of our crew, thanks so much for tuning in.